In Tokyo, Team GB's Sky Brown, just 13 years old, becomes Britain's youngest ever Olympic medalist.
There's the kickflip, Indy. That's what we needed.
And this place has erupted for her.
She took bronze, the first ever medal in the skate park for Great Britain at any Olympic Games.
It's incredible. I mean, it feels unreal. I'm so happy to be here. It was a super sick final and qualifiers. It was insane.
Team GB's Hannah Mills becomes the most successful ever woman Olympic sailor, winning gold in the 470 class alongside Ailey McIntyre.
It's been one of the hardest weeks of my life, I'm sure for Ailey as well, just every day feeling sick, not being able to eat, just nerves building up, and yeah, the emotion of just, we've done it, it's over, we've done what we came here to do.
There were boxing medals too for Ben Whittaker with a silver and Fraser Clark winning bronze. And the American Sydney McLaughlin smashes her own world record, winning the 400 metres hurdles. Also this lunchtime. Jabs for teenagers, more than 1 million could soon be eligible for a COVID vaccine. And President Biden joins calls for the governor of New York State, Mario Cuomo, to resign over sexual harassment claims.
And coming up on the BBC News Channel, a silver for Team GB's Ben Whittaker in the light heavyweight boxing, but the Brit was disappointed not to take gold after losing in the final.
A very good afternoon to you. Team GB are racking up the medals in Tokyo at the Olympics, and the success is across a wide range of sports. History was made in the skate park with Sky Brown, who's just 13, taking Britain's first ever skateboarding medal and securing her place as the country's youngest ever Olympic medalist. And there was a gold in sailing for Hannah Mills and Ailey McIntyre, winning the 470 class, making Mills the most successful female Olympic sailor
won their
of all
470
time
class
after
gold
a gold in
sailing.
Rio and a silver at London 2012. There were more medals too, with boxing and Ben Whittaker taking silver in the light heavyweight category and Fraser Clark claiming bronze in the men's super heavyweight division. And the reigning heptathlon world champion Katarina Johnson-Thompson has made a mixed start to her Olympic campaign, lying 5th after 3 events. Well, for a full roundup of all the action, let's join Natalie Perks in Tokyo. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Clive. Yeah, I was lucky enough to be at the skate park today, and boy, was it dramatic. In the blistering heat, Sky Brown carried a nation's hopes on those tiny shoulders, and she delivered bronze to become Britain's youngest ever Olympic medalist. With the silver medalist, Kokono Hiraki from Japan, she was just 12. And with the gold medalist, Sakura Yosozumi, also from Japan at just 19, that podium had a combined age of 44, making journalists like me feel very old indeed. Here's the story of how it all played out.
Sky Brown will take bronze.
She's already lived her young life in the spotlight.
13 years of age. There's Stu, her dad.
But for the girl born in Japan, draped in the British flag, this was the best feeling in the world.
So much hype, but the talk is over.
The judges were looking for difficult tricks, quality and consistency. Sky Brown has a giant trick bag.
Strap yourselves in, here we go.
All she needed was a smooth run.
Oh, going for that kickflip Indy. We knew it was going to come out.
Not ideal, but with 3 runs allowed, there was still hope.
She's let it go again. Just missing the kickflip Indy.
On, the pressure is on that third and final run now.
Time for a pep talk. And in the searing heat of the Ariake skate park, one British teenager shook off the nerves and kept her cool.
There's the kickflip Indy. That's what we needed. There's the kickflip fakie, hands in the air, yes, Sky!
Third time's a charm. Team GB had everything crossed. Only the world champion could deny her a medal
Not
now.
faked. Oh!
Just missing the very last.
The bronze was in the bag and history was made. And as the tears flowed, the camaraderie was clear. Friends and teenage girls living out a dream.
It's fun. It's so cool because I got to be on the podium with my friends, Kokona Sakura, and just being in Tokyo and eating my favorite food, spending time in the village. This is honestly one of my best memories.
Sky said she simply wanted to come here, have fun and inspire girls around the world. Britain's youngest ever medalist did all of that and so much more.
She was born in Japan to mum Miyako and her British father Stu. At the age of 10, British skateboarding spotted her talent and saw an opportunity.
And we just said, like, if you want to give it a go, we're Skateboard GB, we don't have much resource, we don't have much capacity, but we'd be absolutely honoured to help you in that journey in any way we can. Who knew that she would be an Olympian and a bronze medalist?
Daddy, look at this.
When I filmed with her in LA in 2019, she had her head and heart firmly set on her Olympic dream. But it almost didn't happen when last year she fell 15 feet while her dad was filming. She was airlifted to hospital with skull fractures and broken bones, with doctors saying her helmet saved her life.
Every time she goes in the air, I flinch, I can't watch it, my wife can't watch it. And you're an amazing skater and the Olympics doesn't define you. And the fact that you're going for it is what skateboarding is about. It's not about holding back, it's about going for it, and that's what Sky is about. And she went for it and she got it.
As well, stale fish.
Her aim is now to qualify for Paris in 3 years' time in both skateboarding and surfing. Don't believe her? Just watch.
Well, the International Olympic Committee will be rubbing its hands with glee at how sports like skateboarding that had its debut have gone down. And it's hoped skateboarding would help attract younger viewers to the sport, and it's certainly done just that. But just how now can Britain capitalise on this momentum? Our reporter Nesta McGregor is at a skate park in Hertfordshire for us now. Nesta.
Yeah, good afternoon, Natalie. It's worth saying at lunchtime it's usually a soup or a rice bowl which has everyone's attention. Today it is a skate bowl, and it's venues like this that can really benefit from the Sky Brown effect. Yes, the Olympics are all about medals, but it's also a great shop window for a sport to raise its profile and also increase participation as well. So you could imagine that the head of Skateboard GB must be very happy, and I think the smile is a bit of a giveaway. Firstly, James, your reaction to Sky Brown's performance and that bronze medal?
Amazing, absolutely phenomenal. You know, who would think that Sky at the age of 13 will come back with a bronze medal? Absolutely, completely overwhelmed and gobsmacked. It's phenomenal.
Your job is to grow the sport. Ultimately, having an athlete like Sky fall in your lap must be an absolute dream. This makes your job far easier, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. The profile that this will bring to skateboarding in the UK is phenomenal, and that will in turn increase participation, but also it'll increase some of the investment that's coming into skateboarding. So the National Lottery have been brilliant in terms of investing in the skaters to get to the qualification events, but also the grassroots facilities. And we now need to start having investment conversations around how do we put facilities in place to help the talented skateboarders reach their potential. And then lastly, credibility. A lot of people think that skateboarding is kids on the street being annoying, getting in the way, but actually skateboarding is way more than that.
Thank you, and it's worth saying that as the head of Skateboard GB, myself and James were going to have a go, but we haven't done the risk assessment and we were in the wrong footwear.
Thanks very much, Nesta. Get your footwear sorted for next time. It's not just been about skateboarding here today. There has been joy on the water as well. Hannah Mills became the most successful female sailor in Olympic history as she and Ailey McIntyre clinched Britain's third sailing gold. There have been British medals in the boxing as well, and world heptathlon champion Katrina Johnson-Thompson got her Olympic quest started. Here's our sports correspondent Andy Swiss with all the details.
Sailing to glory and jumping for joy. A golden day for Hannah Mills and Ailey McIntyre. And for Mills,
Good evening,
it was
the
also
grandson
a
of a
historic
convicted
one.
murderer from Bournemouth.
They'd begun their final race with a title in their sights. All they had to do was finish in the top 7, and they were soon up into 2nd place. By the final buoy, they dropped back to 5th, but they held their nerve and held on for victory.
Hannah Mills and Ailey McIntyre, it is gold for Great Britain.
Delight for the duo, and as their achievement started sinking in, well, so did they. McIntyre had emulated her father Mike, who won sailing gold in 1988. While for Mills, there was a place in the record books. With 2 golds and a silver, now the most successful female sailor the Olympics has ever seen.
It's mad. It's absolutely mad.
Grab your
Growing
backstage
up,
pass, Nick.
Obviously, like a lot of Olympians dreamed of being here one day and standing on top of the podium, and to do it twice, and with Saskia before and Ailey this time, I've had 2 incredible crews to sail with, and I just feel really lucky.
And thousands of miles away at Cardiff Bay Yacht Club, the celebrations could also begin. For Hannah Mills's family, particularly her parents, it was just as special.
I was just so relieved for them both. They've worked so hard. They have tried every different approach to tactics, communication and anything else they possibly could to give them that extra little edge. And it was just amazing, absolutely amazing.
But elsewhere, gold proved agonisingly out of reach. In the boxing, Ben Whittaker had to settle for silver after losing his light heavyweight final, and his disappointment was all too clear. At the presentation, he couldn't even face putting his medal on. Coming second, it seems, was precious little consolation.
I just want to say to everybody, I don't want to look like a baby or a spoilt brat, but I'm so upset that I didn't win the gold. So to me, I feel like I've lost the gold, that's it. So I can't celebrate a silver just yet.
Meanwhile, in the super heavyweight category, Fraser Clark's hopes of gold were ended by a nasty cut in his semi-final. But for the man who just missed out on a place at the last 2 games, bronze was worth the wait. And it's the best the women's hockey team can now hope for after their reign as Olympic champions came to an end, the Netherlands beating them 5-1 in the semi-final. In the athletics, Katarina Johnson-Thompson began her quest for heptathlon gold. After an excellent start in the hurdles, but a slightly disappointing high jump, she was in 3rd place after the first 2 events. Once again, though, the standout performance came in the 400 metres hurdles. After Karsten Warholm smashed the men's world record yesterday, America's Sydney McLaughlin did the same to the women's.
It's McLaughlin's title and a new world record!
2 new records in just 24 hours. The hurdles, it seems, are proving no barrier to brilliance. Andy Swiss, BBC News.
Well, Britain now has 47 medals, which means it's exceeded the target that was set here, the minimum target of 45 medals. Britain would need 20 more to be on par with what happened in Rio, nigh on impossible really. But Team GB only needs 4 more to match what they did in Beijing. And if they do that, this Tokyo would be Britain's second most successful overseas games in history, Clive.
OK, Natalie, thank you. Natalie Perks there in Tokyo. It is 13 minutes past 12, our top story this lunchtime. Team GB's Sky Brown, just 13 years old, becomes Britain's youngest ever Olympic medalist, winning a bronze in skateboarding. And Britain's Hannah Mills becomes the most successful ever woman Olympic sailor, winning gold in the 470 class alongside Ailey McIntyre.
Coming up on the BBC News channel, defending champion Jason Kenny and Jack Carlin are both through to the quarter-finals of track cycling's individual sprint. Team GB's Kenny's going for a 7th gold medal.
More than 1 million teenagers could soon be offered a COVID vaccine. It's understood the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation is to recommend that 16 and 17-year-olds are given the jab. At the moment, only under 18s with underlying health conditions or living with someone vulnerable qualify for the vaccine. Here's Jim Reid.
46 million adults have already received a COVID vaccine. Now the jab is set to be routinely offered to under 18s for the first time. Scientists on the JCVI are expected to recommend that all 16 and 17-year-olds should be next in line.
Throughout the pandemic, we've listened to the JCVI and we've adopted their recommendations because they are the experts. So all I can say at this stage, I'm afraid, is that it is imminent and people will get clarity very soon.
Ollie is one of a small number of 17-year-olds who've already been jabbed. He's been volunteering in Bolton A&E through the pandemic, so qualified as a healthcare worker.
16 and 17-year-olds have had such a big social life, and quite a lot of us have been going out a lot, and there's a lot of people as well that aren't wearing masks at the moment. So I think it's really important to be jabbed because it reduces transmission. And also, if you get COVID, you don't know how bad you're going to have it. Some people are, more affected or less affected than others. And you wouldn't want to be one of the ones who's really badly affected.
But this decision wasn't straightforward. The statistics show under 18s are far less likely to get seriously sick with COVID. And while side effects such as inflamed heart tissue are very rare, they do exist.
I think it's the right thing to start extending vaccination down into older teenagers. We know that they have a very high rate of infection. And if you look at where the infection is currently flourishing within society, it's largely in those younger age groups. I mean, there is a balance, obviously, between the potential side effects and the damage that COVID can do.
Other countries, including the US and France, have gone further and already offer jabs to all children over 12. A similar move in this country looks unlikely for the moment. The recommendation to extend the jab rollout to those 16 and 17-year-olds will need to be signed off by ministers in all 4 nations of the UK. After that happens, we could see appointments offered in just 2 weeks' time. Jim Reid, BBC News.
New research suggests most children who become ill with COVID recover within a week, and long-term symptoms are rare. Scientists from King's College London say they're reassured that the number of young people who experience prolonged illness is low. Here's our health correspondent, Anna Collinson.
A joker and a daredevil. That's how Arlo's mum describes him. But a few weeks ago, he became poorly after testing positive for coronavirus.
There was definitely a point where, I did wonder how this might continue in terms of symptoms. Would it kind of get increasingly worse? There's definitely an element of the unknown, which is slightly unsettling as a parent.
Is that high enough?
No, I want higher. But within a week, Arlo's cough and runny nose was gone, and he was back to his normal self. New research suggests that recovery time is typical for most children, with few experiencing long-term symptoms. The study looked at more than 1,700 children who were reported to have developed symptoms and tested positive for COVID-19. It found fewer than 1 in 20 experienced symptoms for 4 weeks or more, and just 1 in 50 had symptoms for more than 8 weeks. The most common issues were headaches and tiredness.
Can children have prolonged illness after COVID-19? Yes, they can, but it's not common, and most of these children get better with time. Children can have prolonged symptoms from other illnesses as well, and an important take-home message is we need to be looking after all children who have protracted illness duration.
Scientists hope their findings will reassure families while also validating those who've experienced prolonged illness, like Valentina's 2 children. She runs a long COVID support group and thinks their continuous cough for 3 months could be a long-term symptom following a COVID infection.
We haven't been seen at that time by specialists to identifying this is COVID related, so we can't clearly define whether they had long COVID. But based from my own expertise and families I have contact with, it is very much likely that they had it.
Specialist centres have been set up to help those living with the long-term effects of the virus. Anyone concerned about a child is advised to contact their GP. Anna Collinson, BBC News.
New figures from the Office for National Statistics show more than 9 in 10 adults in the UK now have antibodies against coronavirus. Roughly 93% of adults tested by the ONS during the week to the 18th of July had COVID antibodies, up slightly from 92% the previous fortnight. Antibodies are evidence of a past infection with COVID or of having received at least 1 dose of vaccine. The Belarusian athlete who refused her team's orders to fly home from the Olympic Games is on her way to Vienna. Kristina Tymanovskaya is expected to then fly on to Poland, where she's been granted a humanitarian visa. Well, our correspondent Sarah Rainsford is in the Belarusian capital Minsk for us now. Sarah, what's the reaction there to the news that effectively this athlete has gone into exile?
Well, ever since Krystyna Tymanowska made those very public criticisms of the sporting authorities here, there's been a smear campaign on state media. They've been presenting her as arrogant, as letting down her teammates by refusing to run in a race that she says she wasn't prepared for. But of course, this scandal has become political. And in fact, one state media presenter said the only thing that Krystyna Tymanowska won in the Olympics was a visa to Poland. No medals, just a visa. So an extraordinary smear campaign, which is one of the reasons why she didn't feel safe to return here to Minsk. And today we're seeing another developing story here, which is a sign of just how little tolerance there is, utter intolerance, in fact, for dissent, because of one of the faces of the opposition protest that we saw here last year. Maria Kolesnikova went on trial alongside another opposition activist, Maxim Znak. Now, the two of them are accused of extremely serious charges. They're accused of plotting to overthrow the authorities here. They're facing up to 12 years behind bars. Now, the trial itself was closed ostensibly for security reasons, but the family outside told us they believe that's because there is no evidence against these two, and they say this entire trial is simply about silencing critics of the authorities here.
OK, Sarah, thank you for that. Sarah Rainsford there in Minsk. President Biden has called on the governor of New York State, Andrew Cuomo, to resign after an independent investigation found he'd sexually harassed numerous women while in office. The 5-month inquiry described a toxic workplace where staff were too afraid to complain. Barbara Plett-Usher has the full story.
New York's ambitious, combative governor had been banking on a run for a 4th term in office. Now he's plotting furiously to salvage his job. Just a year ago, he was arguably the most popular governor in the U.S., leading the fight against COVID, a darling of the Democrats. More like a pariah now, deserted at the party's highest level after the damning results of an investigation found he sexually harassed nearly a dozen employees.
I think he should resign. What I said was, if the investigation of the Attorney General concluded that the allegations are correct, that back in March, that I would recommend he resign. That's what I'm doing today.
The report was 5 months in the making. Investigators revealed a disturbing pattern of abusive behavior that they said violated state and federal law.
The investigation found that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed current and former New York State employees by engaging in unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making numerous offensive comments of a suggestive and sexual nature.
They described a climate of fear that long prevented women from coming forward with complaints.
The most serious was the governor's unwelcome physical contact with women, including touching intimate body parts.
Mr. Cuomo has remained defiant. He called the report politically biased, and he defended his hands-on style as a harmless tradition of showing warmth through touch.
I never touched anyone inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances. That is just not who I am, and that's not who I have ever been.
Even so, the governor could face civil and criminal prosecution, and his political career is in peril. There's talk of impeachment.
I thought he should have resigned a long time ago.
I hope he has the decency to resign today.
The Me Too movement has been slow to come for New York's irrepressible political survivor, but he now stands on very shaky ground. Barbara Plett-Usher, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Boris Johnson is on a 2-day visit to Scotland but won't be meeting the First Minister Nicola Sturgeon for talks. He's expected to see police officers and visit renewable energy projects. Labour's leader Sir Keir Starmer is also in Scotland on a 2-day trip beginning in Glasgow, and our correspondent James Shaw is there. James, how big a deal is it that Mr Johnson won't be having discussions with Ms Sturgeon?
Well, it's true that's not going to happen. She had invited him to talk about recovery from the COVID pandemic, but Boris Johnson, in an official response, said he looked forward to seeing her soon, but he wanted that meeting to involve all the leaders of the devolved nations, so Northern Ireland and Wales as well. Nicola Sturgeon's response has been that she doesn't feel snubbed, but it is a missed opportunity. I think the interesting thing, Clive, is you suggested there that he may meet the police and look at renewable energy projects. The Prime Minister's focus on this trip may well be much more to do with COP26, this absolutely crucial climate change conference, which is happening in Glasgow in almost exactly 3 months' time. That's why he may be meeting the police and looking at renewable energy projects to put the spotlight on those issues. Now, Keir Starmer, of course, is in Glasgow as well, as you've said, looking at the same issues. He has said that the UK government's response and approach to COP26 is inadequate, is not ambitious enough. No doubt the Prime Minister on this trip will be trying to prove Keir Starmer wrong.
OK, James, thank you. James Shaw there in Glasgow. 19 men have been arrested in the Bradford area in connection with allegations of historic child sexual abuse. They're aged between 36 and 55. West Yorkshire Police say the alleged offences took place between 2000 and 2005 and relate to one female victim. The head of the British Army says Iran must be deterred from carrying out further attacks like the recent drone strike on a tanker ship. Last Thursday, a suspected Iranian drone strike on the ship killed a British security guard who has been named as Adrian Underwood and the vessel's Romanian captain. Speaking to the Today programme, General Sir Nick Carter said the Iranians had made a big mistake and that Britain should be calling out Iran for its very reckless behaviour. Iran has denied involvement. 3 people have died in the Czech Republic after 2 trains collided near the border with Germany. Around 40 people have been injured. The Czech Transport Minister says one of the trains involved, an express from Munich to Prague, had failed to stop at a designated location. Now, when the huge container ship, the Ever Given, ran aground and blocked the Suez Canal for a week in March, roughly 15% of global trade was halted. Well, now the vessel has finally made it into port in Felixstowe, to the relief of hard-up businesses, with the whole affair highlighting just how precarious global supply chains can be. Here's Theo Leggett.
4 months late and still bearing the scars of her encounter with the sandy banks of the Suez Canal, the Ever Given finally limped into Felixstowe, her last port of call. This giant of the seas became stranded while negotiating one of the narrowest parts of the canal. She was stuck fast and the waterway was blocked for 6 days. Hundreds of ships were unable to pass through, causing havoc in a global container industry that was already under intense pressure due to the COVID outbreak. The saga of the Ever Given itself may now be over, but what this affair has shown is just how much impact a single event involving one giant vessel can have on the entire global supply chain, and just how vulnerable the systems we rely on for imports every day really are. And those supply chains are still under strain, thanks to other factors such as COVID outbreaks in key Chinese ports and severe weather. It means freight rates are continuing to soar.
And this has won awards for us all over the world.
Gavin Yuko runs the Happy Puzzle Company, which imports toys and games from China to be sold in Britain. He's ordering supplies for the busy Christmas period, but he says the costs are becoming insurmountable.
Prior to this year, we'd never paid more than £2,700 for a 40-foot container coming to us from China. This morning I was quoted over £15,000 for a similar container. Prices have gone through the roof and it is becoming unworkable.
And it isn't just prices that are the problem. Some traders are simply struggling to find space on vessels coming from East Asia at any price, such as the level of demand.
If you manage to get a container loaded at the suppliers and you book it on a vessel sailing next week, the line may not load it on that vessel, and they may not load it on the next vessel and the next vessel after that. So in other words, your container is stuck in Shanghai port for 3 additional weeks before it's actually shipped on the vessel.
Some businesses are happy. With space on their services so scarce and cargo rates so high, the shipping lines themselves are making record profits, although they argue that this is simply compensation for the many lean years they've suffered in the past. But they're the only happy ones. For importers, retailers and consumers in Europe and North America, as well as suppliers in East Asia, this is a crisis they could certainly do without. And the Ever Given remains a potent symbol of a troubled year they'd like to forget. Theo Leggett, BBC News.
Now, time for a look at all the weather news, and Stav Daneos has the details. Hi there, Stav.
Hi there, Clive. Thanks very much.
Good afternoon to you. It's not a bad day out there. There's quite a lot of dry and sunny weather. Behind me, you can see the sunshine is out there in South Yorkshire, but some pretty big clouds are starting to develop, and that's the forecast really for the rest of the afternoon into the evening for a few really heavy, maybe thundery showers to develop across more central parts of the UK. You'll see there on the pressure chart, hardly any isobars around, so the winds will be light. This weather front enhancing the cloud and shower activity across western Scotland and Northern Ireland. You can see that here on the latest radar and satellite picture. Some showery bursts of rain, a bit more cloud generally, and you can see the showers developing across parts of East Wales, the Midlands, Northern England, starting to become heavy. And because those winds are light, then they're going to be slow moving. So some areas seeing a lot of rainfall in a short space of time. It could be a risk of some localised flooding. Pretty much anywhere is not immune to a shower this afternoon, but there's a better chance of staying dry away from the zone that I've just mentioned. And we could see temperatures reaching highs of 22 or 23 degrees, light winds, strong August sunshine. It's going to feel quite pleasant out there. Now, these showers and thunderstorms across central eastern areas rumble on for a while this evening, and then they should tend to clear away. It turns drier for much of England and Wales tonight, but then this new area of low pressure starts to push into the west of the UK. That's going to bring increasing cloud, rain and wind. Temperatures will start to lift as well across southern and western areas by the end of the night. But it is all changed for Thursday, Friday into the weekend. We've got low pressure sweeping in. It's going to bring a lot more unsettled conditions. Showers or longer spells of rain. It'll be turning windier as well. And here's the culprit. This area of low pressure, more isobars on the charts you can see, hence the winds, and only very slowly moving its way eastwards during Thursdays. It's bumping into that area of high pressure over Scandinavia. So it does mean then many central and eastern parts of England, eastern Scotland will start dry tomorrow. Maybe some sunshine around before the wind and the cloud picks up, and then a band of rain spreads its way eastwards through the day. Some of this could be quite heavy and thundery, and that'll be followed by sunshine and blustery heavy showers across more southern and western areas. So that'll impact the temperatures, probably the high teens for many, but we could see 2021 across the east given that drier, brighter start. As we head on into Friday, low pressure is pretty much slap bang on top of us, bringing windy, showery conditions. This feature also running in across the south of the country Friday into Saturday, bringing more persistent rain. So it is going to be a pretty unsettled outlook for August, for Friday into the weekend. It's not going to be raining all the time everywhere. There will be some sunshine at times, as you can see here, but some of the downpours could be really heavy, thundery, could give rise to some localised flooding. Probably just signs it turning a little bit less showery by the time we move into Sunday. But these sorts of temperatures are a little below par for the time of year. That's it from me. Back to Clive.
OK, Stav, thank you for that. Stav Deneos there. And a reminder of our top story.
There's the cafe. That's what we needed. And this place has erupted for her.
Team GB Sky Brown, just 13 years old, becomes Britain's youngest ever Olympic medalist, winning a bronze in skateboarding. And Britain's Hannah Mills becomes the most successful ever woman Olympic sailor, winning gold in the 470 class alongside Aileen McIntyre. And just before we go, there are more Team GB medal hopes, with equestrian Ben Mayer through to the jump-off with 5 others in the show jumping. But it's not looking good for heptathlete Katarina Thompson-Johnson, who's just pulled up in the 200 metres. But that's it. So goodbye from me, now on BBC One. Let's join our news teams where you are. Have a very good afternoon.